guy, as I said, he changed his life with one word. And I think that is, I've never heard it that way, you know. And the more I talk to him, the more I go, I didn't know that about you. And I've known him for years, and I didn't know a thing about him. So I'm going to let him say hello.
Good morning. I am happy to be here, Ms. Springer.
You're very welcome. This is, you all know him as Positive Nelson. This is Senator Terrance Positive Nelson. And it's the positive thing that was the word. So what made you come up with that word to change your life?
Okay. If you just allow me, because I kind of ran up the steps and was, running in here. So just allow me to just get in my calm so I can get in character for what we're about to talk about, okay?
Okay. It's a different character than his normal self. Yeah. Because it's radio, we have to do time. Okay. And who would have thought?
That's my moment.
Wow.
All right. I thank you very much. I want to say good morning once again and greetings to you. I am positive. Positive is an individual who evolved when I found myself at a crossroad. Living life, having done what I felt like society wanted me to do, but realizing that I could not be living in between. I was sort of stuck. When it happened, when the transformation began, it was somewhere back in maybe late 91, 92. I was graduated out of college. I had an accounting degree, graduated magna cum laude, and I had to decide because I was at the point where I wanted to decide what was going to become of me. My girlfriend at the time, who became my fiancée and who is now my wife, became pregnant with my first child, who became my first son. And I chose to walk away from certain, I guess, temptations, certain lifestyles. And maybe what's happening is really just the energy that's coming off, so emanating. So maybe we just try to balance it. But I realized that I could not be in between. I was living in society, as people knew. If everybody who knew me on the surface saw a good, upstanding citizen. But really, there was part of me that was not really so good. But you really did not know that unless you had to encounter that for whatever that reason was. And it will probably come out one day in a book or a movie or something. And I said I wanted to leave something good for my son. He knew it was a boy, and I didn't want, you wonder, well, what are they going to tell my son about their father? And I wanted it to be positive. So I chose positive, and I chose to become this positive character. I chose to choose the positive in any situation I encountered. It doesn't mean perfect, but my intentions then became to see what I can do to help humanity be better, help myself be better, help humanity be better. I started going to the church with my martial arts instructor, Master Thomas Jarrett. He has passed. Most people don't know that I've been practicing martial arts since 1989. I am a 5th degree black belt. I currently conduct classes 5 days a week. Most people don't know that. And when I was, going to the church and just, this whole wanting to be this good citizen, I chose to be this positive character, and I told the boys at the time, hey, call me positive. We actually started a group. There's a group called Tough Gang North Carolina. Most people don't know about it, but it started with a group of 5 of us. Then it grew to about 7, and we just decided to believe in all that is positive. And with that, we will do whatever it is to contribute positively, and that's who I am. And then it just started taking one step after the other. Yeah, one step after the other. So I would admit that a lot of what I'm doing now, it wasn't planned or set out by me. I asked, most people refer to God, the Creator, to use me as a vessel to channel this positive energy that I'm talking about. And And I believe that this entity accepted my request and has been using me since then till now. And the things that I'm doing, again, most of my friends who knew me then, back then, we laugh when we get together at what I'm doing now as it relates to being involved in this politics and all of these things. But yeah, I'm being what I want to. I'm being what I want to see the world. To, what I want, the imprint I want to leave on the world.
So how do you go from? I mean, first of all, what made you decide that you wanted to pursue an accounting degree?
That was easy. My eldest sister was pursuing accounting. Again, it was no. Let me tell you, I was just a normal guy. I had good grades because my parents were very strict. I'm the only boy, so my playhouse was really outside. Meaning when I got out the house, whatever ramping I got into, I had to do for myself. I couldn't come home hurt. I had no idea. Have a bunch of brothers home to go help me fight if I got in some. So I had to do for myself. At my young age, remembering myself, from about the from second grade, we were living in Watergut. And then this way, Watergut was a new project, so you had Red Brick, you had Shabert, and all those guys would come through on horses. I'm dead scared of horses till today. Okay, but I had to do for myself out there. So, all along, it was just, to me, my life, I consider what people might deem a struggle. It made me, having to, from fighting with sisters and nobody else, to, all of this stuff. So, my sister was studying accounting, and in graduating, all my friends were going to somewhere. At the time, I hadn't applied yet, but at the time I realized, okay, well, hey, Claude going someplace, or Fluka going someplace, somebody going military. I'm like, well, I'm not going to sit around and be no bottom of the bunch, So I applied to the college my sister was at, and I chose accounting with my sister, which I was studying. I mean, and I chose accounting, and I like it. But when I was getting to the end of my college career, I started imagining, do I want to sit with books in a room by myself? And my character is not really that person, and so I had, but here you are, your senior year, you're about to graduate. I mean, you can't change anything. And it just took a direction, to be honest. When I graduated, what got me, you heard me say, well, I got real angry. Because you graduate magna cum laude and, you expect to get this job that they tell you about, You did what you stayed out of trouble. I mean, even though we were dabbling in a lot of mess, I'm going to tell you. A lot of Caribbean people went to that school, including people from the Bahamas, Jamaica. So sometimes we did some interesting things. That's what you heard me talk about.
A posse.
Okay. And it wasn't in a bad way, because we were just good guys, but we were just dabbling in some things, right? And so at graduation time, I couldn't get a job. I was either underqualified or not enough experience, or overqualified for entry-level jobs I was willing to take just to get the experience for the guy down the road who said I didn't have the experience. And I felt like, like they were playing a game with me. I'm like, the system playing a game with my mind here. I did my part. That's what I'm saying. You're a black guy in North Carolina. You already have to walk easy up there, And, so that got me a little angry. So we even started dabbling some more. And then, but as my girl got pregnant, she moved down to North Carolina, and I was like, things got to change, things got to be different. I already had one part-time job. This after graduation, now, mind you, I got another part-time job throwing mails, and that's where I got my break. Actually, we were throwing mail, talking one night. I'm a supervisor. Well, the guy, he was a supervisor at the night job, and he became a supervisor for the state. He was a supervisor for the record center at North Carolina State Record Center, NC State. Mm-hmm. And we were talking, just regular conversation, just a bunch of guys throwing mail. When you're throwing mail, you're standing by boxes and you're throwing per zip code. So all night you're there for 4 hours or whatever throwing these mails. So he's talking a variety of topics. And he said he looked over, and friends who know me, they call me Sam, family friends call me Sam. He said, Sam, you seem like a smart guy, man. So I mean, what's wrong with you? I'm a college grad, Mm-hmm. So he jumped by, he said, you have a college degree? I said, yes. So what you doing here? So, that turned it up. I'm like, what do you think I'm doing here? I'm working. I need to work. I have my girl is pregnant and expecting, and I need to earn honest money. He was like, but you got a college degree? I'm like, yeah. I said, yeah, and I've been looking for work for the past year. And he said, nah, man, I got to try to do something. And he actually called me in for an interview, and It went well, and I started working for the record center, state record center, as a records clerk and that's where I worked until for about 5 years, along with teaching martial arts with my martial arts instructor, and he got me began doing public speaking with various places. I'm a member of numerous organizations. Most people don't know that. Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity, Lions Club. I first joined Lions Club International of Raleigh, North Carolina. I'm a Mason, Wiseman Lads number 311. All these things was done in North Carolina. Most people don't know these things, but I'm a Henry Toll Fellow. I believe in organization. I believe in growth. That's just when you grow without a brother. I guess you believe in brotherhood and coming together. And when I was coming home, I decided. By then I was already this person who wanted to do what. That's why I moved back from the States in '95. We had just bought a house in '93. My wife and I, we had gotten married. We got married. We bought a house. All this. So this transformation began in '91. So by '92, here I go. Do the engagement thing. By '93, I'm married. Do the house thing. And in early '95, I'm like, hey, let's get out of North Carolina. and they're like, what's wrong? Well, nothing was wrong, but I wanted to, if I was going to contribute to society as a wholesome citizen, I wanted to do it in a society that raised me. I wasn't born here in the Virgin Islands, but I was raised here from a baby. My parents were actually already living here, but I was born in St. Kitts. And I took a teaching job, and then the rest is history. I refused to watch the system be the way it was, and then that began all these things. But what I really prefer for me, if I had an ideal situation I could be in, it would be to motivate people to know that they are empowered to do and to be as great as anything and any being, and that's what really drives me, because I'm filled with that spirit right now.
Mm-hmm. Now, you have, I know daily stresses, and this is why I originally wanted you to come here, because you created a space. Do you want to tell us about that space that you created?
Yes, thank you very much, and thank you for this opportunity. Because those who are familiar with Serenity's Nest and who have been there, realize that there's, you can have peace on earth despite your situation. So I created an escape hatch. We purchased a piece of property in hopes of constructing, and we're still in the process. It's very hard to build around here, when you're not sitting on a whole sum of money. The banks don't lend as easily as you think they do. And what I realized I could do is, I can create an environment so that when the house, and when I'm ready to prepare to build a house, I'll have an environment where I'm comfortable, and I want to be able to be peaceful at home. And I do a lot of praying. Most people I'm considered a Christian. Most people say Judeo-Christian. They say the Rasta, that Old Testament, New Testament thing. And I'm really beyond the
labels.
The labels.
Yeah.
But if I was to put a label, it's the thing they call it Judeo-Christian, whatever. So I do a lot of praying and meditating out there and what's not. And I've called upon God because I found myself in situations where I've need, and I've went outside there, and I want to pull God into this place. So I call it, it's a place of Zen. So I started planting food because I figured, let me create a spot where tourists can stop and have I get tea, bush tea, whether iced bush tea or hot bush tea, and have a cool out space. And I drew little sketches on paper, and my friends would laugh and like, what's wrong with you?
We're going to actually have to take a quick break, and when we get back, more on what Serenity's Nest is like. You're listening to Let's Talk Friday with Charlene Springer. We'll be right back.
I grant my clemency from prisons of my mind. I'll walk right through the gates.
Are you interested? Welcome back. You're listening to Let's Talk Friday with Charlene Springer. And we've got in the studio as our person of interest, we're categorizing him today, Senator Terrance Positive Nelson. And we were talking about how he has created this space, Serenity's Nest. So can you tell us more about Serenity's Nest?
Yes. So the whole concept behind this garden, I planted it up like I was telling you, and everything that's on there was actually planted by me, my hands literally. I didn't pay people to plant. I planted. I get up early in the morning before work, 5 o'clock, plant flowers, plant vegetables, plant fruit trees. And like I said, I had my sketch out of kind of how I wanted it to be, leaving space for where the possible site of the construction would be, and using the contours of the land. And there's of course a lot more development to happen because my vision and my money is not always at the same point at the same. It doesn't always meet at the same point at the same time, right? But so it's a work in progress, and that's the beauty of it, really, because if you see what it was and what it is now, and people come and they say, "Oh my," and then there's those who saw it before and was like, "Whoa!" So you know, it really teaches you hands-on that progress and development comes over time. So it even helped me in what I'm doing overall. So it became a place of solace for me. And one of my favorite prayers is actually the Serenity Prayer. So this whole theme of the park, of the farm or the nest is exactly that. Where you God grant me the wisdom, the courage to change, the wisdom, the serenity, it's really there's going to be a signage. There's going to be the actual prayer is going to be up eventually. The mahogany sign is prepared. I had to sign it over, and that's going to eventually be up in front. So this place is a place where people, it's for me really and my family. It's because it's where my residence is going to be, but it's also a place where people can come and just say that.
Breathe.
Most people don't do that, and most people, if you tell them take a deep breath, you're going to hear them say.
Yeah, I know. They always
but
exhale through the breathing,
mouth. Yeah, and so there's people who I've had some very important meetings out there. As a matter of fact, because there's a gazebo, and people come outside there, and it feels so free. It really tells us a lot about us. Like just yesterday, I was talking to somebody who's helping me tidy up. Now, since you invited me on here, I said I better tidy up. Let me tidy up in case I have more visitors. So we were talking about this certain plant, and I was showing him that there's this plant, and the plant, based on its environment, has changed its character. Changed its behavior. So so he looked up, and I said, yeah. So imagine the same thing with humans. If you take human over time, and we were actually talking about it. It's the agave. I can't remember the scientific name, but it's a cactus-looking plant that shoots up the long thing in the middle eventually.
Agave.
Agave, something or the other. And
century plants.
Yeah, I had picked off some bulbs off of a plant that's seeded, and it was in a bucket, and some seed left in a bucket, and it was there, dark area, and the plant is now smooth, soft leaves, and then the sun. So he was speaking out, even the same purple plant. Most people don't realize that purple plant that goes all over, I don't know what the name is, the one that goes all over underground, that purple and green plant.
Right.
And when you see with a lot of green around it, those aren't new plants, but that's that plant that grew up in a different environment that changes. So the mysticism of just watching things grow, all that became, it sort of enriched my spirituality. And it led me to see that you read it in the Bible and you hear it stuff about the earth is the Lord and the fullness thereof and all these things, and it put me actually in tune. It got me grounded. So as often as I can, as free time will allow, that's where I run to. I mean, there's no house there yet. There's a porta potty, there's dogs, there's animals, but it's set up in a way where there's lounge chairs, there's cool out spot, there's Wi-Fi. And all these kind of.
Oh, you have Wi-Fi too?
Yeah, because I want for people to be able to come and chill out if they have work to do on a computer that they can. And if they want to bring a lunch and cool out, maybe in the future, if somebody want a green space to, I'm gonna figure out a way to charge because
I know it's upkeep.
It has electricity already, and so. For me, it's created this quiet space in all of this chaos, where I can kind of run to and recharge and come back out there fully ready, and I invite people to come, and I sometimes have cookouts out there, and it sets. I am so pleased when I see people feeling exactly what I wanted the place to be. And I might expand eventually if I'm blessed with the resources, because there's some vacant spaces
lots
around
nearby.
that I see a big vision for. But I'll hold on that for now.
Did you think you'd be in this position, like when you were younger, when you were that kid growing up in Watergut? Did you ever envision yourself to this space in your life?
Surprisingly, as I start and as I reflect now at what I'm doing, and I reflect, and my friends would laugh, and those who might even hear me say this would know that I used to say, like, I feel like I'm somebody. I feel like I'm somebody important. They're like, everybody will make joke, and Governor King would drive through there by the seaplane, between the seaplane and Watergut, and he would stop his car and talk to us, ask us if we're doing good in school and what's not, and we would try to do good so that when we told him yes, that we were telling the truth, and stuff like that. But so I didn't know that it would be this. But I know that I always wanted to, even from childhood, my friends would tell you I was always that responsible friend. Like, we'll be freaking out. We used to do a lot of wayward things, but I would still be the one to be like, hey, okay, guys, stop, okay, that's enough. Okay, time to go, And if they weren't listening and I had to leave them, I'd leave them because I wasn't going to go down in anybody's mess. So, I knew that I always wanted to do good. I grew up going to church and all these things, and I didn't know it was going to be this. When I was coming home, the people who I worked with at the record center were like, hey, when you go home, you're gonna be into this, and you're gonna be, and they even predicted this political stuff, and I'm like, no, man, what's wrong with you, And I wasn't even in the I was not even in student government in high school, because I was just a freelancing guy, a fun-loving, free spirit, I call myself. So, but I realized, even more so now that, when I did open up and ask the Spirit, the Holy Spirit, the Creator, God, to use me, that, and I kind of sit back and realize that, this entity likes to sit back and laugh at that,
Yes,
I bet you didn't know, So I kind of, I got that joy inside, and sometimes people see people, what's wrong with him? Because there's been times that, that when I reflect that I would not have been here, period, to be doing any of this because of some of the roads I've traveled. There's times that, I've had guns to my head. I've had guns to heads already. There's times that in my life that, when I look back, I know that, this entity had protection and a hand on me and a greater purpose. So it was like,
big angels on every corner.
Yeah. When I look back, you hear these pastors say that, when I look back over my life, the one thing I sometimes don't appreciate when you go in halls of praise is that when people sometimes see you getting in your groove, in your praise, your hallelujah moment, they sometimes judge, and they probably wonder, is that pretense? But when people haven't walked in your shoe and people see you now, and people say all these kind of things, and they don't know really what has happened, they can't appreciate my hallelujah moment like me. So it's like get off of me. I'm happy to be here. And I'm not talking about being in any particular position. Or I'm happy to be here alive. I'm happy to be here to say that I have 4 children and 2 grandchildren now. There's when the vision was shown to me after the fact that had I not chosen positive,
wow,
it would have ended for me at about 31.
Wow.
So for me, it's like, I'm on borrowed time. I got extended time because of choices, and I'm still not perfect. And so I'm just trying to do good by that time that I got, and it softens my heart. It humbles my heart. It puts me in that kind of moment when I think about it, because I appreciate life and living.
Whoa. Isn't that incredible? I think that it's a fantastic life story. I mean, so how do you take that to our children? How does it go to our children?
I like to speak every chance I get. I like to, because I feel that, and let me take a bragging moment. I'm a John Maxwell certified trainer, coach, speaker, and that's why I go to these leadership things, because if I don't grow me, I can't grow others. So I try to teach them and empower them that they have it in them to be and to do.
Life I will design, and all I need I hold within. I have found.
Welcome back. You're listening to Let's Talk Friday with Charlene Springer, and we've got hanging out in the studio with us today our person of interest, Senator Positive.
I tell you, for today, just say positive.
Positive.
Positive is how I live.
Okay, positive is how I live.
Yes, sir. Which at the time when I became positive, I came up with that slogan, and which is now something that's a registered trademark.
Right.
You know, and so I do they do.
I know it's your sticker. Everybody's got your sticker and your armband and your.
And that's
I've got your bags.
Yeah, and that's merchandising beyond. You know, there's nothing to do with anything political or any of this sort.